Hello, welcome back everyone. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. Yes, I know it's been a while, and I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. I'm just going back into the swing of things, and I almost want to say taking a break from grieving. And I'm very grateful for this particular deck that came to me through one of my viewers as a gift, and I had no idea what was being sent to me, but when this deck arrived, it was right. I think I received this deck possibly about a week before my father passed away, so things were very much in the dark realm for me. And opening this deck, it felt very familiar, seeing the images that are here. So the deck that I am speaking about is the Erethereal Shadow Tarot. This is by an artist and writer by the name of Vixen. He is based in Canada. And before I go on to explain this, I want to thank I would like to thank the person who sent me this deck, and how I am gratefully embracing this deck to kind of help me come to terms in not a fearful way, but in a realistic way and in a humbling way, with all the feelings that are going on right now with me. I've mentioned in the past about, for those who do a lot of shadow work, subconscious work, that it is very important to, of course, explore those realms, but also not to get lost in it, not to spend so much time in that dark space. It's okay, it's okay to spend that time that's needed, but not to a point that it really starts inhibiting you from growing and from moving forward. And so the Erethereal Shadow Tarot makes me find more comfort in dealing with how I'm feeling about my father's passing, and just the whole journey that's been happening with me, and the dreams that I've been having, and people that I no longer have a connection with, not like in a negative way, but just people that I've lost touch, how they're starting to show up in the dream realm. So this deck works very nicely for that too, because it explores those aspects of why these individuals are coming into your dream realm. So with that being said, I mentioned this is a deck created by Vixen, who is a Canadian author and writer, and it's a shadow deck, and it's a beautiful shadow deck. Nothing too grotesque about it. I've broken the deck into suits. The cards that you're seeing here is a reading that I did for myself a few days ago, and the images feel good. It's nice to look at a deck that's dark as this one is, and find almost like a serenity and a familiarity with these different environments. So I've broken the deck into 7 parts. I have the major arcana here, I have my court cards here, I have the aces over here, and then here I have our suits. Now the suits, I've arranged in the order that I believe is in the book. I don't have the book for this. You could download the book through the website, and I'll include that information in the details of this video, like where to purchase the deck. But this really isn't a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We do have the suits of the Wands, Swords, Cups, and Pentacles, so they haven't been renamed in any way. But the images in this deck are very, as I mentioned, they're very deep. They're very psychological in the sense of facing things that we are normally not faced with on an everyday basis. So there is a comfort level, as I was saying, with this deck. So it's a deck that I feel is easy to work with in the sense of dealing with dark issues. So the reason why I broke the deck up into these 7 different parts is, when I receive this deck, or whenever I get a deck, I always break it up anyhow. I break it up by the suits. Sometimes I leave the aces in the suits, but in this case, everything was just becoming very intuitive for me, and I wanted to let my feelings go with how I wanted to work with this deck. So I broke everything up down to the suits that can represent the seasons. The court cards, which I've been, well, I started a few months ago exploring the meanings of the court cards. So they still hold power in this deck, but they're in a different realm. I can almost say the court cards, they represent individuals that we may be working with, but here we're going into a deeper state. We're looking more into the underlying issues or reasons why we are drawn to these people. Normally when we work with people or we connect with people and we feel something very strongly, whether it's positive or negative, it's something that we are lacking, or it's something that we would like to bring into our lives. There's a characteristic, there's an attribute, or there is something of that person that, if it angers us or it's negative, it's something that we need to work with. And that's what I'm doing here with the court cards. And then, of course, the major arcana. So this deck, it's also very reminiscent, before I go on, it's also very reminiscent of, the name of the deck is escaping me. The Dream Keeper's Tarot, which I had for a while. And I stopped working with it because I felt that my time with the deck was done. And then when I got this deck, it just kind of put me back to remembering working with the Dream Keeper's Tarot. But here, this is very ethereal, hence the name Erethereal. Sorry about that. This is just a deeper deck, very, very dreamy. You do have the energies of masculine and feminine in this deck, but also the identities of these energies that we see here are blurred. We're more or less focused on the environment that these suits represent and that the court cards are in, and the major arcana. So that's a little bit of background with my experience with these cards. So let's visually, I don't know if I'm going to go through all of them because this deck is very very stunning. They are gilded, and I think this is only the second deck that I have that is gilded. I don't know the quality of this gilding. I know it's been scratched a little bit, but it hasn't really come off. So depending on the printer that Vixen worked with, maybe the gilding will stay on. Everything is matte. Well, I shouldn't say it's matte. This is more like a the box is matte, but the cards, they look like they have more of an uncoated finish. I won't say matte because you can still see there's a little bit of of a reflection, but it's more like of an uncoated stock. When you work with uncoated paper stock, you could get like a ballpoint pen and write on it, and it won't smear. It's not glossy. It won't bleed. So I feel this stock is more of an uncoated stock. So the box is wonderful. It's been a while since I've done a tarot review, so it feels interesting. This is the back of the box. It's like where the shadows run free. And then here is our front and our side. There's not a thumb cut out, so it's a little bit difficult to get to the box. You may have to let it slide out on its own like so. And very straightforward. And these are the tops and bottoms. The box is good. Be nice to have had that thumb cut out, but it's no big deal. I'm not that picky. So I think I'm just going to go through the cards very quickly and just make quick comments of them. So as you can see here, gold. I've worked with this deck, but just very gingerly, because the energy that comes from this deck is very strong for me. So I pull a lot of energy from a reading, especially when you're dealing with shadow work, and I just kind of want to sit with it for a while. So this is our moon card. This won't be in order because, as I mentioned, I did a reading for myself recently with this deck, so they're all shuffled, but they're shuffled according to their suits. So everything here, a lot of the imageries of the cards are enveloped in smoke and clouds, a very deep landscape. There are quite a few moon cards that are beautifully designed, and I want to say this is one of them. So Vixen, this is a beautiful card that you created for depicting the moon. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move closer so you could see here. And this deck, as I mentioned, the images are blurred. This is the back here. So we have a lot of a warm, antique-y sepia tone, and also with the borders right here, sepia tone, give it a little bit of a vintage feel. So these are the major arcana. The world, very similar to the moon, as we see the energy moving up. I'm going to turn down like this. And I don't know if this is like a graphic or if it's a printing error. I think that's a skull there. Right here, or maybe something subconscious. Anyhow, that's the world. The star, which is on the box. Actually, the quality is pretty close. Whoever printed this did a pretty good job, and I'm certain the creator was right there to make sure everything matched. So we have the star. Again, we have the smoke environment going up into the cosmos. The devil. I'm not going to talk too much on this. Got strength. This is one of the cards that came up, a reading I did after my father's passing. The ship floating on the waves, but also surrounded by the clouds below and above. going through the storm. So I'm going to do it like this because I want to keep the reading that I have here. Let's see what we have here. The Tower. And I feel being surrounded by the clouds, the light and dark clouds, is just showing how we're moving through this energy. The challenges that come in and out when doing deep work like this. I'm going to do this so it's a little bit easier. Okay, let's see how quick I could get through this. Wheel of Fortune. Not your typical Wheel of Fortune. But again, when you work with these cards here, like I said, there's no RWS influence, no Doth influence. This is all subconscious work. Okay, we see the Wheel of Fortune, but when you look at this, what else do you see? What else do you feel? I'll move closer again so you can see the detail. For some people, they may not be able to read this. I would say this deck it's good for someone who has a good sense of working with the tarot, but also doing personal subconscious work, understanding what's going on with the psyche. It's a dreamy version of the Lovers. Just beautiful. Empress. The Roses. Emperor. Oh, let me see something here. It's interesting use of the crown that we see here. It's like the shadow part of the Empress and the shadow side of the Emperor. The Hangman. So I'm saying this may be a little difficult for people to read if they're not familiar with the tarot. But again, this is a deck where subconsciously you can do a lot of work, and I think this is good. It's always good to get out of your comfort level and work with a deck that challenges the way that you normally have read the tarot. So Chariot. Hierophant. I can't help but think that this could be AI work. Some of this holds like an AI feel to it. And the Magician or the Mage. Power of the air. Look at this. Just the clouds. Like, this is what's going on in our subconscious, the way the creator worked with this deck, billowing clouds and smoke rising from the dark. Here's Justice. To me, I almost feel like it's going human form and then it just sort of disappears. Like here, I would say is the body, but the scales are just sort of floating on their own. Temperance. This one will be a little difficult too. You don't know what the meaning of temperance is. And again, you can make reference to the guidebook, but for me, I like to do my own interpretation. Here we have Judgment. Very different take on Judgment. I think one way to work with this deck too is, if you want to get familiar with it, is maybe work with the deck that has this kind of imagery, and take it from a RWS perspective and turn those Rider-Waite-Smith meanings and put them more into the shadow realm. If you were to create an RWS deck, take those cards that we see normally, and this could be the shadow aspect of that. Yeah, you really don't see the faces too clear, which is great, because I don't like to work with a deck that holds a lot of clear images of people. I like it to be vague, because that opens up the realm for us to not get distracted and think of the faces that we see there as being familiar. So I think this is wonderful. Again, like I was saying, this deck, we focus on the environment of where these entities are coming from. Beautiful High Priestess. I like how there's a glow of the light behind her. Okay, I want to see where I am with time. Okay. Okay, so that was the Major Arcana. Started off with. Okay, I'm going to shuffle this up. I think for me, I'll probably be working with this deck for a while until I feel like I'm done working with the shadows. Here's our Ace of Cups. Have the emotions. I'm going to put this here. Ace of Pentacles. It's interesting when you go to the forest, you see all these different shapes of trees. They almost take a life of their own. Here's our Ace of Wands. Ooh, there we go. Very strong, our Ace of Swords. Okay, so again, we can use these aces to represent our seasons. Okay, and then we're going to go to our court cards. And then here, it's our Queen of Pentacles. All right. This Queen of Pentacles reminds me of a young lady on Instagram. I've met her in person. She kind of reminds me of her. Okay. Our Page of Swords. Now there really isn't a color scheme for each of these. I mean, I feel the swords are more in the element of white, of air. Our cups, we can see where there's a bluish tinge to it, but more on the darker side. It's hard to see it here, but this is more like a bluey green color. So King of Cups. Queen of Wands. Yeah, there's a lot that I see here. I almost see like a creature coming off here, off the side. And I see like a cat here, like a dark cat. Queen of Cups. Page of Pentacles. I really enjoy the pentacles in this deck. See the vagueness of the images. It just allows you to spend more time looking at the environment and how you feel when you see this card. This looks like a dragon there. A lot of metamorphosis happening. Queen of Swords. So again, remember, this isn't a particular system like the Doth RWS, but if you were to work with those decks and like with an RWS deck, you could take those suits and interpret those suits with this deck as the darker side of what's happening. King of Wands. Lion, cat-like. Wearing a very similar headdress as the Queen of Wands. Page of Cups. Yeah, we still have the same thing here. I think there's something very subtle. That's Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Wands. This is a card that I got in the reading that I did after my father's passing. And I think I made reference that this image sort of reminds me of the state that my father looked when I saw him in the coffin. I didn't attend his funeral, but video was sent to me. Here we go with the King of Swords. When we see the skull, especially in the court cards, okay, it's nothing to be scared of. Okay, because the skull is the stripping away of life and just getting to the basis of what's of who we are, right? And so when we see a skull, there's power in it. It's transformative. It's going to the next realm. And so we see that in quite a few of the court cards. Okay, so now we are going with our wands. Okay. I'll put this card here. Four of Wands. So lots of destructive energy, but that's not negative. It's burning, it's releasing, it's letting go. So as you're looking at these cards, take note of what you may see. Okay, this is a different take on what we normally see, the Nine of Wands in an RWS deck. Or 8, 7 of Wands, any of these suits. This deck is all about purging, facing our fears, being scared, being open and honest. This is the journey work of someone who's going through a dark time at a deeper level. There we go. I like how there's the water in the background, the Three of Wands. Is this person looking towards the coast or looking away? We can't tell. I want to see something here very quickly. No. Six of Swords. Oh, Six of Wands. My apologies. And then Two of Wands. The lava. Very erethereal. Hard word to say. Erethereal. Okay, so now I kind of like the way I have this set up. I have Wands, Fire, Swords, Air. Air and fire work together. They fuel each other. From thought to action. Two of Swords. Nine of Swords. Eight of Swords. Oh, looks like there's a bit of a printing defect there. These landscapes are very, very vast. Now look at our Three of Swords. There's almost a little bit of a romantic feel in some of these images. There's our Ten of Swords. Wow, very creative way of, not so graphic, of doing the Ten of Swords. Very apocalyptic here. Like the Six of Swords. Actually, this person's just traveling alone. Doing the journey work themselves. Beautiful Ten of Cups, a harmony. I take the Lover's cards and put it, Lover's card and put it with the Ten of Cups. Here's our Nine of Cups. for above or below. Let me flip this around here. There's a deck that I can work with, I feel, with this deck. The images are, I don't know, they're very cosmic and dreamy, but I'm thinking about the Dreams of Gaia. Seven of Cups, to possibly be a companion deck with this. To use the Dreams of Gaia and put it in a lighter perspective in relation to this deck. Two of Cups. Sorry if you hear footsteps. That's my neighbor up above. Okay, and lastly, here are our pentacles. One of my favorite suits from this deck. 8. So see how the world, how the whole realm, the whole environment of this deck is shifted when you put these suits into a shadow perspective. This one's quite nice. For a 5 of Pentacles, the coldness. Abandonment. Ten of Pentacles. Like the forest environment of this, the Pentacles. The roots. We see a lot of exposure of the roots. The base is what we are connected with the most. Seven of Pentacles. How we see value and our sense of worth for ourselves and into the things that we have. Okay, so that's the Erethereal Shadow Tarot. I want to pull out a few cards very quickly so I can close this video out with the Dreams of Gaia. Now I have here the mini version. This one's been sitting on my table, so I don't know. Again, as I was turning these cards over, I don't know. I think for somehow this deck, the Dreams of Gaia, works, its energy works pretty interesting for me. Again, we're going from the dark, and here this is almost like the healing aspect, the next stage after we work through the shadow. This is almost like the next level that we can bring out from that experience. From dark to light. I think it's good to have a deck where you have something like this, something that's quite dark, and bring a deck that has a contrast to it. So I'll explore that. I'll explore that when the time is right. But for now, this is the deck that I'm working with the most to help me help me get through some patches here. I will not get lost in the dark realm. It just feels like there is stuff that I still need to work through, so I will do so as the energy allows me to. So again, this is the Erethereal Shadow Tarot. Oops. The author's name is Vixen. I'll put all the information for where to get the deck. The guidebook you could download digitally, which I did, or you can order it as a hard copy. You can read a little bit about him. Again, he's based up in Canada, and I think he did a wonderful job. So again, this isn't sticking to any particular system. This is a dark shadow work deck to deal with some of the harder things of what's happening in the world and with ourselves. I think that's an excellent way to work through certain situations. And it's not a graphic deck. It's not gory or anything. It's very deep, for me, deep subconscious energy that I feel for it. So again, this deck I feel works best for someone who has an understanding of the tarot. I think if you go into this deck, you may pick something else up from it, and that's totally fine. But if you want to learn the tarot, I think it's best to work with a deck that is a little easier to work with, and then move to something like this. Okay, some people can gravitate to a deck of this nature, and it feels right to them. Because I feel when people work with a deck like this first for shadow work, there's obviously a clear sense of wanting to connect to that side. These images, these energies all make sense to that person. So keep that in mind. If you're not prepared to work with a dark deck, you may want to hold off on it. Maybe buy the deck and work with it when you're ready. But again, the person who gifted me this deck, the timing was just perfect. And when I opened up that box and I looked at all these images, I'm like, this is the deck I'm going to be working with. So, so yeah, maybe not quite a Halloween deck. It could be visually for some people, but to do the serious work, I think this deck is a good start, a good move in that direction. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching this, listening. I will be back. I just don't know when I'm gonna start being more committed with my content. This is something that I feel very strongly with, and I just thought to go ahead and share this deck with you. So if you do have this deck, or you're interested in working with this deck, feel free to leave me a message. You can reach me through my website, or leave comments below in the video. And if you are working with it, let me know how it's going for you. Okay, so thank you again for everyone's support and comments during this time. I am healing. It's just going to take a little bit more time. I have other things that are going on in my life as well. So like I said, I'm taking a break from grieving. But to connect with this deck is very nice for me, and to go through all the cards like this individually and to share it with you. Alrighty, I will be in touch with all of you again soon. Thanks again.